Federal government poised to do more through economic sustainability plan. Nigeria has $5.83 billion undisbursed foreign loans, says Debt Management Office. Insurance sector's assets hit 1.82 trillion naira on decapitalization deadline. Plus, the contribution of agriculture to economic growth is the focus of our discussion on the program. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA. We're reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. The federal government has reiterated its plan to generate $30 billion within the next 10 years from non-oil exports to diversify the economy. Executive Director of Nigeria Export Promotion Council, Segun Oluwo, speaking at a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday, assured that Nigeria can get $30 billion in terms of non-oil export as projected despite the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. Awolowo said in 2008, oil price crashed due to global financial crisis. Then in 2014, oil price crashed due to shale overproduction. Then in 2020, oil price crashed due to COVID-19. Awolowo said with a positive gross domestic product growth in last quarter of 2020, supported by agriculture and services, Zero Oil Plan has received enormous support and has been integrated in the economic recovery and growth plan, adding that the National Economic Council has set up a national committee on exports to drive it. Now, Nigeria's prompt exit from recession is a key indicator of the success of the ongoing economic sustainability plan approved by the federal government. These are words of Laolu Akande, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity in the Office of the Vice President, while updating the media on ESP progress and reacting to the latest GDP figures for the last quarter of 2020. Akande notes that right from the 2020 third quarter, the economy was already on a rebound, adding that the latest fourth quarter figures show the recovery of the Nigerian economy is a steady one. The presidential spokesperson said the economic sustainability plan is entering into a more potent phase with the revving up of plans to install 5 million solar installations across the country and the social mass housing plan that will result in hundreds of thousands of affordable houses for ordinary Nigerians. He explained that so far more than 311,000 employees have received the payroll support coming from 64,000 businesses nationwide, and over 165,000 artisans have already benefited from the survival fund. He said the federal government offtake schemes coming soon with an additional 15 billion naira to support Nigerian-owned businesses by offtaking a number of products in the bid to keep businesses alive and create jobs. Agriculture has maintained a steady growth in Nigeria, contributing meaningfully to the country's gross domestic product from 2015 till date. Even when the country was in recession, the sector's contribution has been positive. In this report, Musa Baba Aliu x-rays the figures Nigeria has been harvesting through local and foreign trade.
This is Haruna Bala, a rice farmer in Kaduna South local government area of Kaduna State, preparing the soil to sow new seeds. His expectation is to get a good yield that will enable him to pay his bills and save the excess. It is the output of millions of smallholder farmers like Haruna that have made a significant impact on the country's economy. And that is the wisdom behind the bottom-up approach of the diversification policy of the federal government. The policy has triggered the growth and contribution of agriculture to the country's gross domestic product since 2015.
One of the cardinal objectives of this administration, which is to look inwards as we focus on our natural endowments in agriculture and other non-oil sectors for inclusive growth and development.
23.11% is the least contribution agriculture made to the GDP in 2015 and 23.63% in 2020. It, however, maintained more than 25% growth in 2016, 2017, 2018 and 2019. Nigeria generated more than 280 billion naira through foreign agricultural trade. The 10 commodities that generated the revenue are sesame seed, which contributed 112.8 billion naira, cocoa beans 109.6 billion naira, cashew nuts 38.2 billion naira. Other agricultural products include cotton 2.53 billion naira and ginger 1.43 billion naira.
If we do export, we are getting our proceeds, our payments in US dollars or euro. So we have foreign exchange. So in view of that, we have availability of foreign exchange.
The rice Haruna Bala and other 12 million farmers in the country are producing has saved more than 300 billion naira the country would have spent on the importation of the produce. Efforts that are said to have contributed to the quick exit of Nigeria from the COVID-19 induced recession. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Our unprecedented credit expansion and the resulting boost to spending on agriculture and consumption on the back of targeted credit facilities by the monetary authorities is said to have played a key role in Nigeria's exit from economic recession, which came earlier than had been forecasted. To confirm this assertion or otherwise, I have joining me in the studio Aziz Muyiwa. He is an agric expert, former director, Department of Agribusiness, Federal Ministry of...
No.
Well, with the recovery, what role did agriculture play?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm pleased to be here. And as you know, agriculture is one of the, it's a very, very important profession, one of the oldest professions, and it's still playing the major role in the economy. When you look at the contribution of agriculture to the GDP, it has been on a rise. And the last time we recorded up to 26% on agricultural GDP has been in 2009. Agriculture moved from 21.91% in 2019, and in 2020, the last quarters of the 2020 recorded 26.95. This has contributed a lot. And when you look at it from your analysis and from what happened practically, it has supported the ban on importation. So many people are moving into the area. We are now expanding our exports. We are now creating more wealth, creating income. So this has helped us. And like you have said, even when the economy was shrinking, agriculture was, when you look at the GDP was on the rise. So we are beginning to look up, and we are doing well. So agriculture contributed tremendously to moving Nigeria out of the recession, and it's still contributing to the economic growth.
I understand that crop production is the largest contributor.
It is.
How do you analyze that?
Yes, you are right, contributing almost 86, between 76.75 to almost 86%, closely followed by other sectors like fishery, like the others. Now, very good question. What kind of magic did we do to get Nigeria into the... when you look at it, Number one, when you look at government policy, it is creating incentive to farmers because most of the crops that or produce, they were originally being imported into the country. Because of the federal government banning of about 36 to 40 items from benefiting from the foreign exchange, and it is no longer business as usual. You can't just bring in any produce like rice, like others. People are now looking inward. People are now going to the farm. People are now producing. Secondly, is the several intervention program of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Anchor program is doing very well. There are so many intervention program, credit facilities being made available to the farmers. So farmers are now doing very well. Also, when you look at the closure of the border, it has also helped because before tremendous produce or products were being moved from some of our neighboring countries to Nigeria before. Were being smuggled. That's the right word. But with the closure of the borders, it is now creating incentive to farmers. Okay. Farmers were able to produce. Then finally, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is also doing a lot with regard to rural road, rural infrastructures. This is also supporting the farmers to produce more. And finally, the demands of agricultural produce now on the rise. People now demand our local, they now look for our local foods. And all these collectively supported the crops to do very well. The researchers are also developing fine varieties of crop. We now have orange flesh potato, which when you look at it, it's containing all other nutritious food, cassavas, and all other varieties of maize that can, the highly maturing one that can mature early, and farmers are smiling to the market because the productivity is now increasing. Okay. When you use the right input. And when the productivity is increasing, you are going to harvest more and you are going to sell, get more income, and this you'll be able to make money. Making money, making everybody to go into the farm. Let me quote one quotation by the former president, the former minister and the current president of African Development Bank. He said, if you want to be a millionaire, the best sector to belong to now is agriculture. Think agriculture, because Africa and Nigeria and every other, with the African Continental Free Trade, we'll be needing close to $10 to $20 billion worth of food in the next 3 to 5 years. So why don't you move to agriculture?
Okay, you made mention of Uncle Borrower scheme.
Yes.
Looking at the Uncle Borrower scheme, do you think enough has been done towards that direction?
Fantastic. They've done a lot. When you look at the Uncle Borrower scheme, it started with rice, now expanding to various agricultural commodities, going into maize, going into it has supported the growth of agriculture, and also supported it has attracted a lot of the farmer, because it's purely a value change arrangement. You are producing, you have somebody who's taking it from you, and you are getting support for the input, you are getting support for the off-taker to mop it up. So the credit facility is there to produce. The credit facility is also there for the big players to procure from the farmers. So farmers in Nigerians, they are very, very intelligent. Once they can get market, anywhere that will fetch them money, they will go there and they will produce.
Okay, where do you think attention should be shifted to?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to say that attention should be shifted closely to the provision of inputs. Make sure, like the president, the president of Nigeria Agribusiness Group, Sani Dangote, once said, he said, all you need to give to us, you may not give us subsidy, but make sure we are able to access this input. So governments will facilitate making sure that farmers have access to input. Once they have access to input, Also make sure that they have cheap credit. Once you have they make sure they have access to cheap credit, and finally ensure market for them. Link the producer to the marketers. Make market information available. Nigerian farmer will turn around the economy.
Okay,
we
with
may not even
all the interventions in place, why then is there a rise in food inflation?
That's a very, very good question. And my first approach to that question is, I don't know, and I want to use a Yoruba proverb, which says that when the flies are biting, when the flies is biting somebody who has a sore, nobody will complain. It is when that person who has a sore starts biting or starts eating the flies, it becomes a news on NTA, on CNN. What I'm saying is that you have inflation generally in the economy. Farmers he goes to buy the same fertilizer, he goes to the same market with everybody, and you are saying that he should keep on selling what the fertilizer this guy was buying before at 3,000 per bag. He's now buying it at 7,500 naira per bag, and you still expect him to sell it at a lower price. Let us be fair. That one is there. So you should look at agricultural production holistically in the context of what is happening within the economy. Yes, there is inflation in the entire economy, and unless we are able to beat down the general inflation, there's little. And when you look at
what then is the solution to the problem of inflation?
Thank you very much. The best solution, I'm talking about food inflation. The best solution is to produce, keep on producing. The best solution is keep on supporting the farmer. The best solution is it will get to a time, even though I'm not praying for it for farmer, there'll be glut and the price will be made to crash. You will definitely crash the price. Crash the price, even though that may create a disincentive to farmer. And this is what we've always been experiencing in what we known as cyclic glut with cassava. You will discover that this year, when we produce a lot of cassava, the price will go down. Okay. But next year, when farmers must have moved out, the price will also go up.
Okay, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Aziz Muyiwa, agri expert, former director, right? Or retired.
Retired, but not tired.
Department of Agribusiness, Federal Ministry of Agri. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here again. Thank you.
Now moving on, gold prices edged higher on Monday to recover from an over 7-month low touch in the previous session as the dollar weakened, although higher U.S. Treasury yields cap bullion gains. A look at the commodity market. Oil prices rose on Monday as the slow return of U.S. crude output that was cut by frigid conditions raised concerns about supply, just as demand is coming back from the depths of the coronavirus pandemic. Brent crude was up 76 cents at $61.67 a barrel after gaining nearly 1 cent last week. U.S. oil rose 74 cents, 1.3% to $59.98 a barrel, having fallen 0.4% last week. Now, despite the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the economy, the insurance industry attracted some investment that boosted its assets. Figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria's report on the insurance sector consolidated balance sheet reveals that the industry's assets rose by 410 billion naira from 1.41 trillion naira as of the end of third quarter of 2019 to 1.82 trillion naira as of the end of third quarter of 2020. The figure, which stood at 1.26 trillion naira as of the end of 2018, rose to 1.61 trillion naira as at the end of 2019. The statistics further reveals that the assets rose to 1.52 trillion naira, 1.79 trillion naira and 1.82 trillion naira as at the end of first, second and third quarters of 2020. Now, the US dollar fell to a third-year low against its Australian counterparts and teethed near a three-year low against the British pound as progress in curbing coronavirus infection boosted sentiment for riskier assets.
Stocks in Asia mostly declined on Monday as China left its benchmark lending rate unchanged over the weekend. Mainland Chinese stocks led losses among the region's major markets as they closed lower, with the Shanghai Composite down 1.45% to 3,642.44. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index declined 1.06%, while the Nikkei 225 bucked the overall trend to close at 0.46%. European stocks retreated on Monday amid cautious trade in global markets. London FTSE depreciated at 6,556.95, CAC 40 of France 0.83% lower, while Germany DAX declined 0.89%. US stocks declined in early trading on Monday after the S&P 500 posted its first losing week in 3 weeks. Meanwhile, it was mixed trading in Africa, with Ghana's GSE Composite, Kenya's Nairobi Oil Share, Tunisia's Tunidex, and Namibia Overall Index posting gains, while South Africa's JSE finished its trading day 0.33% at 61,901.68. And that's global markets next.
Now let's take a look at the activity on the Nigerian stock market last week.
541 billion shares worth 18.23 billion naira in 22,752 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The NSE All Share Index depreciated to close the week at 40,186.70. Market capitalization dropped by 0.61% to 21.026 trillion naira. All indices finished lower in the week, with the exception of the NSE Banking, NSE Afri-Div Yield, NSE Meri Value, NSE Oil and Gas and NSE Growth indices, while the NSE ASEM and NSE Sovereign Bond closed flat. The financial services industry measured by volume led the activity chart, with 1.099 billion shares valued at 11 billion naira traded in 12,544 deals. The consumer goods industry followed with 133.156 million shares worth 2.3 billion naira, while the third place was occupied by the conglomerates industry. Trading in the top 3 equities, First Bank Holding, Guarantee Trust Bank and Zenith Bank accounted for 553.5 million shares worth 8.9 billion naira in 5,132 deals. A total of 1.054 million units of exchange-traded products ETPs valued at 7 billion naira were traded in the week in 49 deals, as well as 8,613 units of federal government bonds. 39 equities appreciated in price in the week. 33 equities depreciated in price, while 90 equities remained unchanged.
Now, this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access this and all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback. Do join us again on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. for another package. I am Musa Abubakar saying stay safe.